your ideology permits that, then what kind of ideology is that? What kind of unconsciousness are we living in? It's not an awakened culture. And all of the discourse around, like, you know, how we treat one another as individuals and progressivism culturally in domestic territories, hey, people should be allowed to do this and that. It's nonsense.
Joe Rogan and Russell Brand are two people who used to be liberals, who used to be progressives, who used to be very, very left-wing, and have now completely flipped, have now completely switched to the other side of things because they have realized just how bad the left has gotten. And Russell Brand and Joe Rogan just can't be a part of it because they have too much common sense inside of their brain to be a part of it. We see people even like Anna Kasparian, who has just a little bit too much common sense to be a part of the left because they have gone so woke and so insane nowadays that it's impossible to have any sort of common sense and be part of the left. Let's check out this video that was very, very interesting from the Joe Rogan Experience over on Joe Rogan's YouTube channel. Russell Brand on the veil being lifted on the corporate political establishment. It's a very, very interesting video. Very cool to see people who used to be liberals, used to be progressives like Russell Brand and Joe Rogan just completely eviscerate the woke left. Let's check this video out between Joe Rogan and Russell Brand.
What are the ideologies that drive us? The ideology of progress. This is why I have sometimes am skeptical, not about technology, the mastery and the geniuses that work in that field, but how technology and science as a subset of our economic ideology can create exactly the conditions that you are describing and that journalist has exposed. That if your ideology permits that, then what kind of ideology is that? What kind of unconsciousness are we living in? It's not an awakened culture. And all of the discourse around, like, you know, how we treat one another as individuals and progressivism culturally in domestic territories, hey, people should be allowed to do this and that. It's nonsense if that is permitted. Not only permitted, required. It's a requirement. You cannot have that economic model without that price being paid. And as a culture, whether it's me as an individual or our entire culture, we've accepted that contract. We've accepted those terms.
Well, we have in some areas of our life for sure. You know, hopefully people haven't done that in their interpersonal, intimate relationships, but we certainly have in the way we communicate with others. We've certainly accepted like very bizarre ways of communicating online. And sometimes that bleeds out into real life, like where someone talks to people in the real world as if they're on Twitter and they get bashed. Yeah. Like you see that sometimes. I think it's a very strange time where I don't think people have a lot of faith right now in institutions. And
well, it's not like they're making that up. A lot of institutions have been proven to not have our best interest in mind, especially with social media, especially a lot of technology and stuff like that. If these companies, these large corporations were operating in a vacuum or operating with no ties to the government, no ties to people who have massive amounts of power outside of their own industry, it would be different. But because all of these medical corporations, all of these social media corporations, all of these technology corporations are tied to someone who has some kind of interest in us not living the best lives possible, all of them have ties to that, to those kinds of people who have a lot of money, a lot of influence, and have direct influence over a lot of these corporations. Because that is the case, why would we trust them? Why should we trust them? It doesn't make any sense to trust them. And now we've gotten to a place where we've been burned so many times that people like Joe Rogan and Russell Brand and myself, not only do we not trust these, you know, technological corporations or medical corporations who give us advice on what to do, not only do we not trust what they say, we in fact take the advice that they tell us to do and say, well, because they're telling us to do it, not only should we probably not listen to that advice, but that's probably in fact the most dangerous thing we could possibly do is exactly what they're telling us to do. So it's sad, but that's the truth. That's the reality that we live in. And if you don't live like that, you're probably not in the best place, to be honest with you. You probably should be living like that.
I don't think they have a lot of faith in authority. I don't think they really believe that there is someone who is wiser than them, that has a grand plan, that's logical, that's workable, where they're looking out for all of us. So I think there's like a feeling of chaos that exists today that
they might be wiser than me. They might be smarter than me, IQ wise. That might be the case. I fully believe that there's people in power that are smarter than me and wiser than me, all that stuff, more capable, whatever the case is. But where it stops is the fact, like what Joe Rogan said right there, that has our best interest in mind, that wants us to be better as a society. That does not exist. Those people in power, they don't want us to be better. They don't. Their best interests are the opposite.
I don't think has ever existed in my life like this before. Even back during like the Bush administration, when they thought, everybody thought Bush was a moron, they still thought there's a good cabinet and they're following all the checks and balances, even though they're probably extracting too much money, and there's probably a lot of cronyism and a lot of undercover deals and a lot of like no bid contracts with Halliburton and that kind of nonsense. He still thought they have things pretty under control. It's a very solid institution. Nobody believes that now. You see Pete Buttigieg and fucking Kamala Harris and Biden can't get a sentence out. You're like, this is madness. These people are utter fools, and these are the people that are running everything, and these are the people that are getting us on the brink of war with Russia. And I don't have any faith in them, and I think most people don't.
I think you're right. And
the worst part about all that is there's millions and millions of people that would tell you that Joe Biden is doing a great job. There's YouTubers like Destiny that would go on Joe Rogan and tell him to his face, I think Joe Biden is doing a great job. And I don't know if they're being serious or not. Like, I truly can't tell. Sometimes I think they're genuinely thinking that Joe Biden is doing a great job, that he is a good president of the United States, that Joe Biden is a good leader, when the man can't even walk upstairs. Like, it's just mind blowing. But because there's so many people out there that are so brainwashed that they think Joe Biden is doing a good job, Kamala Harris is a good VP, that they directly contradict everything that Joe Rogan and Russell Brand are saying. That's why we're able to be controlled so easily. Because there's millions and millions of people. Obviously, Joe Biden won, right? So, whether you think there was something nefarious going on there, regardless of that, there's obviously a good amount of people that voted for him. So that just goes to show you this population can be easily controlled. The fact that many people voted for Joe Biden.
With the that era of the Cheney, Bush, Wolfowitz, Rumsfeld, it felt like, these are the Death Star bods. What's happening is there's this risen up military-industrial complex, Rand Foundation ideologues from the Republican right, who were the sanctioned baddies back in those days, are trying to profit from the colonization of the Middle East. It's part of a new American project. We sort of understood it, but from where I'm coming from, it was somehow recognizable, and 1 million people went on a march to prevent that war taking place because they knew there were no weapons of mass destruction, which we now know to be the truth. And as you say, now the figures that are in that place are sort of posing as the good guys, like affable and avuncular presidents, and sort of.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Friendly people of that across the identitarian spectrum that's meant to feel inclusive and progressive.
They're wrapping themselves up with progressive identity politics and then promoting a war.
Yes,
at the same time. It's very wild.
Yeah, it feels like a mask and a veil. Like, this is what's interesting for me is as we navigate this new and emergent space of being able to present counter narratives, and continually, like all of us now, have like experienced, you're a right wing conspiracy theorist, you've joined the alt right, you're a gateway to this, the dark web, all of that language that grows up around it. Like, this, and I've heard you speak about this obviously a lot, but the truth is that who isn't sympathetic? Anyone that's got a family or loves someone is sympathetic to the idea that people are going to have various types of identity around culture and religious expression and racial expression, and this is a conversation that the whole culture has to be involved in together. What my issue is, but
they don't want you. Like, they don't have any reason. The other side doesn't have any reason to involve you in the conversation. The side that does, that I was talking about earlier, that would go on Joe Rogan, I guarantee it, would go on Joe Rogan's podcast, look Russell Brand and Joe Rogan in the eyes, and say, I think Joe Biden is doing a good job. The reason why he's able to say that is because he doesn't have to back it up with any sort of facts. You know why? Because if you do try to oppose him, all he'll do is never talk to you again. He'll never platform you again. He'll never get on and actually have his beliefs challenged again. And I'm not saying, Destiny doesn't have his beliefs challenged. He debates people all the time. I'm trying to dance around certain words here and dance around certain things. But if you oppose Destiny enough, you will get deplatformed from Twitter and other social media platforms. Like, you'll get taken off the map because they don't want you to have that viewpoint. They don't want that viewpoint to be known. They don't want their opinions. I'm not even saying like Elon Musk in particular, but there's social media platforms like Twitter before Elon bought it, Facebook, Instagram, Meta, whatever. They're proven to take off people who have certain political beliefs for just simply having those beliefs. And they're also proven to prop up the other side of things. just because they have those beliefs. And, you know, that puts us in a world where certain side doesn't have to back up anything that they say, anything they claim with facts or evidence or anything like that. It's just emotion. It's just my side must win. Why? Because it's my side, because it's this side, and because I want them to. Not because I want the country to be better, just because I want them to win. That's all. And they'll win at any cost, by any means necessary. So let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this conversation between Russell Brand and Joe Rogan. I thought it was very, very interesting. Russell Brand and Joe Rogan both brought up some great points and absolutely destroyed, you know, the woke left and everything that they're trying to push on us. So let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I hope to see you guys on the next one.